One man was killed and dozens wounded as Palestinians clashed with Israeli troops across the West Bank and Gaza yesterday during protests against U.S. President Donald Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Other demonstrations took place across the Middle East and Asia, and the militant Al-Qaeda network urged followers around the world to target vital interests of the United States, its allies and Israel. Last night, traditional U.S. allies in the UN Security Council, including Britain, France, Sweden, Italy and Japan, criticized Trump's decision. At an emergency council meeting, Britain's UN ambassador Matthew Rycroft called the U.S. decision unhelpful to peace. Sweden's UN ambassador Olof Skog said the U.S. action contradicts international law and Security Council resolutions. French Ambassador François Delattre said the U.S. must explain how Trump's action aligns with the legal foundation on which all peace efforts are based, while Sebastiano Cardi, from Italy, expressed serious concern at the risk of unrest and tensions in the region. During the second day of rage, thousands of protesters took to the streets in the Palestinian territories. Mohammed al-Masri, 30, died after being struck by live fire near the Gaza-Israel border east of the city of Khan Yunis, the Palestinian Health Ministry said. It added that more than 35 Palestinians had been injured, too seriously. The Israeli military said in a statement that soldiers fired selectively at two main instigators, and confirmed hitting them. Palestinian political groups had called for massive demonstrations in the West Bank, Gaza Strip and East Jerusalem, the lands captured by Israel during the Six-Day War in 1967, and sought for a Palestinian state. Protesters burned Israeli and U.S. flags and stamped on Trump posters. In the West Bank, demonstrators torched piles of tires. Stones were thrown at Israeli soldiers, who responded by firing tear gas and rubber bullets. Thousands of worshippers at a traditional flashpoint, Jerusalem's OID city, dispersed quietly after noon prayers. The Gaza-based leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, called for a third uprising against Israel. The first against the Israeli occupation of the West Bank and Gaza lasted from 1987 until 1993 and the second from 2000 until 2005. A statement posted on Al-Qaeda's Media or Masahab called for holy war or jihad and described America as an oppressor of Muslims. Street demonstrations were held across the region, and there were marches in Iran, Indonesia, Malaysia, Pakistan and Jordan. In the latter's capital, Amman, hundreds of protesters chanted, "Jerusalem is Arab," and "America is the head of the snake." Demonstrators stamped on a poster that showed Trump alongside a Nazi swastika. Before the UN Security Council meeting, several national leaders warned the U.S. shift could further destabilize the region. French President Emmanuel Macron said after a meeting with Lebanese Prime Minister Saad Hariri that he was launching an appeal for common responsibility. Hariri said the U.S. decision will further complicate the peace process and pose an additional challenge to the stability of the whole region. U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said it is likely to take several years before the U.S. opens an embassy in Jerusalem and claimed Trump's announcement did not indicate any final status for Jerusalem. The current U.S. embassy is in Tel Aviv. Tillerson also claimed the U.S. is clear that Jerusalem's borders will be left to Israelis and Palestinians to negotiate and decide.